there are a fair number of people who don't know Alistair Begg, and that is a shame.
And listen, folks, until we have a new identity in the Lord Jesus Christ, which is the whole point of the gospel, that Jesus comes and lives in us. I've given you the illustration before. Show me a Shakespeare play and tell me to write it. Write one just like that. I can't do it. Show me a painting by Van Gogh and ask me to paint a painting like that, and I can't do it. Show me a life like the life of Jesus and ask me to live a life like that, and I can't do it. But if the genius of Van Gogh could come and live in me, I could paint that kind of picture. If the genius of Shakespeare could come and live in me, then I could write that kind of play. And if the reality of Jesus can come and live in me, then I can live that kind of life. That's the gospel, you see. And everything else is a call to externalism. Well, come on now, have a good week. Try and be a kind person this week. Do your best this week. Shape up. Stop swearing in your car. Stop getting aggravated at other drivers. Try and be nicer to your wife. Give yourself a shake. Pull your socks up. Spend more time with your kids. Da-da-da-da-da. The guy's going, you know what? I don't even know if I want to, and even if I wanted to, I don't even know if I can. That's not Christianity. That's moralism. That's externalism. Christianity is, you're in deep trouble. Jesus died to get you out of the deep trouble, but unless you admit you're in deep trouble, you ain't never getting out of it. So first you got to admit it. But I want good news. Sorry, there ain't no good news without bad news first. Well, I don't want to listen to it. Fine, see you around. Next, there's bad news, then there's good news. You ready for the bad news? Yes. Okay, here it is. Oh, I understand. And what's happening in pulpits all across this city this morning on rally day and come to church day and this next day, people are being called to a lifestyle without any life. And it is the worst possible thing I can imagine. To do Christian stuff without knowing why or how. To be involved in externalism, moralism, and just doing stuff. I have no interest in doing stuff. All the stuff I want to do by nature is bad stuff. Believe me. And unless someone came and changed the mechanism inside of me, I'd be doing all that bad stuff, and as it is, I still do some of it. So the identity is key to the activity. To be called to activity without an identity is to live in externalism, which is bogus and worthless and facile and empty and trivial and irrelevant. And the world looks on and says, I want none of it. And frankly, I couldn't agree more.
Alistair Begg, heard on radio stations around the country. They archive all of their sermons at his ministry. Just look up guy with an accent who sounds smarter than the rest of us, and you will find he's from, is he Scottish? Is that
yes.
Alistair Begg? Scottish? Is that near Welsh?
I'm sorry, Welsh? You mean Wales?
No, it says Welsh evangelicals reject move towards gay marriage. So it's Welshland. Is he from there by any chance?
The Welsh are from Wales. Which
yeah.
is south and west of Scotland.
Well, I think you're confusing this with the book of Jonah. Let's carry on. Remember, the talk show host is always right. What did Luther say? What did Calvin say? What did all the reformers say in varying forms? The hinge on which Christianity swings is the distinction between law and gospel. Now, there have been some other theologies that have been used to be the hinge for Christianity. There are many. Justification, that's a hinge. But this distinction between law and gospel, if we're not careful, we will fall into one side or the other. You can fall into hyper grace mode. It's all about the gospel. It's gospel yummy. Love the gospel so much. Sin? Well, we don't use those words here. Besides, Jesus died for sinners. Isn't that yummy? We love the gospel. Gospel yummy. I think that's been trademarked already. On the other side, you've got legalism. You've got the do, behave. This is very easy to instill into our children, especially when they're young. Just do it. Clean up your room. Get on it. No explanation of why. Talk about that in Reset for Parents, available at wretched.org. Reset for Parents at wretched.org. Headline from str.org, one of the most helpful articles I've seen in a long time. Actually, there's a fair amount of these. This happens to be one of them. If we lose the meaning of justice, we lose the gospel. This was written at str.org. Giving your money to the poor is not justice, it's mercy. Taking other people's money by force, government or any other means, and giving it to the poor is neither justice nor mercy. It's injustice. It's taking what someone else has earned against his will for yourself or for others. That is why the Founding Fathers, I believe, were opposed to the idea of socialism. Taking from rich people to give to the poor. Incremental taxes, by the way, that's socialist in nature. Bible, everybody paid the same amount, about 23.5%, and then you give to God what you want to, according to the Old Testament. Justice is the very opposite of making sure that everybody has the same. This is so ludicrous. God is okay with privilege and lack there. Everybody has some sort of privilege. Everybody really does. Your intelligence, you got more smarts than your sibling. Well, I know I did. You are maybe better looking than your siblings. So the point is, we have all got some sort of advantage, and God is okay with that. He gives that to us. Now, the problem is when we love it, when we desire it, when we live for it, that's a sin. James talks about that in James 5, 1 through 6. Heard a great sermon on that on Sunday, too. That the pursuit of these riches, that's the key. It's the love of money, not money itself. It's the love of money. And there are some people who love money so much that they're willing to say, forget justice. Forget doing right by people. Take it from them and give to others. Back to the article at STR. Justice is receiving what you have earned or what you are owed by right, whether good or bad. Receiving the money you have earned is justice. Taking what someone else has earned is injustice. Giving is something different altogether. Here's the distinction between social justice and Christian charity. One is coerced, the other's voluntary. Does one of those sound more biblical than the other? I think so. When you give, you're not giving a person what he has earned. You're graciously showing mercy out of love. To say that giving is a matter of justice is to create a false sense in our culture that one is entitled to another person's grace. That rich people who earned their money lawfully owe money to the poor, and that it's a matter of justice. Now, what's the problem with that? It confuses the gospel. It makes the gospel something else besides grace. As the meaning of justice has changed in our culture, this presumption on God's grace increases. It's not fair God saves some by grace and not others. Justice demands that he save everyone equally. Well, that's so debunkable. Please tuck this one into your quiver that you can pull out when you are. No, your quiver. The quiver would be the what's the bag? You put the arrows in the. Yeah, put it in your quiver. I'm sorry, I'm getting my archery terminology a little bit confused. The point is, if Bill Gates went to a shopping mall and gave 10 people $1 million, nobody would say he has to give $1 million to everybody in every mall, or he's not just. God doesn't have to do anything for anyone. Anything that he does that is kind is simply benevolence. Justice demands he saves everyone, is the battle cry that we heard at UGA, if you recall. We'll be playing some of that for you another day. Why didn't God save everybody? Why does God save anybody? The more the line, back to STR, the more the line between justice and grace is blurred, the more difficulty people will have understanding both what they deserve according to their sin and the undeserved grace of God. Language is important. We can't explain either of these concepts if our culture has lost the true meaning of justice. They don't understand that justice is God's laws being applied and people getting what they've earned. Grace says you can get what you don't deserve. You can have unmerited favor. And if we blur the definition of justice, we blur the definition of the gospel. If we don't have a distinct word to describe receiving what we have earned, justice, then we don't have any concept of grace. We'll be losing the meaning of grace, since we can't comprehend that it's amazing indeed. If receiving from God what is not earned is considered to be a matter of justice. Words have meanings. Very, very important. It's very easy to confuse the gospel. It's easy to blur the gospel. Justice and gospel, they work hand in hand, yet another hinge on which salvation swings. If we do not keep the definition of what true biblical, not social, what true biblical justice is, guess what? We're going to have a harder time explaining the gospel. How ironic. Until tomorrow, go serve your king.